Coach Dan. He's a 2004 U11's national champion. How you doing today, Dan?
Doing well. Reminiscing about the good old days.
Of course, of course. I hope you're enjoying the weather, and I hope that your U12s are killing it on the old soccer
Well, we'll see.
circuit.
We'll see next weekend. We had a rough run of things last weekend. A lot of guys were sick, but we'll see this weekend.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. Also, we have our returning champion, as usual, Tyson, and the Olive in York USA Copa America kit. I have my official kit from the World Cup, but Tyson's got the stylish navy blue and stars on. How you doing, Tyson?
I am doing great. I just crushed a tandoori chicken from the Red Panda in Essex.
Nice.
Indian and Nepali food is the best. And with Scotland well on their way of crashing out of the European Championships, go USA. Go USA anyway, but go USA, even harder.
Even harder, he says. Yeah, so today I have to mention, because before I came onto the pod, I went, speaking of the Euros, I went and watched the Euros over at Zero Gravity with our friend the brewer Terry. I was completely out of my element hanging out with all those brewery people, but Terry again wanted to let Dan know that your socks are untied.
Yeah.
And he wants to rub that in your face again. So
it's an oldie and a goodie. If with how we are as a fan base at Vermont Green, we don't want to be vulgar, we don't want to be angry, but we do want to get into the other team's heads, and that's just it's a go-to, and it hasn't worked many times, but when it does work, it gets the people going. So
it does for sure. And Terry was wearing a beautiful pink shirt today, which he says he never wears pink, but every time I've seen him, he's in like some sort of bright like color. So bananas. Anyway, we're gonna get to our next guest, because our next guest is a special guest for us here today. We have Liv White. She is a native of Pittsford, Vermont. Went to Otter Valley High School. I also am a native of, I moved to Pittsford when I was 11 years old. And I went to a different high school. I went to MSJ, but yeah. So how you doing, Liv? Liv is our newest member of our Vermont Green women's team. And she'll be playing on Saturday. We'll get into that a little bit later. But how you doing today, Liv?
I'm good. I'm really happy to be here. A little upset that you went to MSJ and not Otter Valley, but we'll move past that.
It's a legacy thing. My entire family right there.
We'll move past that. But I'm good. We just wrapped up training today, our second day of training. So I'm recovering from that, hydrating, but it was good.
Excellent. So I know that they've been holding camp there, the VFA camp there. Did you get onto the field with any of the kids today? Get to play at all?
Right. So it was thundering and storming during our practice time. So we went over to the Shelburne Field House. We had the field booked out. And then like the last 30 minutes of our practice, there was probably like 150 kids waiting for us to sign autographs and take pictures with us. So it was awesome.
Excellent.
It's that I just say that VFA camp is just great for the kids, man. I mean, I'm thinking back to when I was that age, like maybe once I got to go to like a Revs camp. I'm from Boston, and it was like, their third choice left center back is here signing autographs. But like with Vermont Green in town, especially with you guys there, it must have been great for those kids.
Yeah. I would have loved that as a kid. So it's a really good opportunity for them and for us.
Lucas came home with autographs all over the back of his shirt today. So
nice.
Yeah, he was excited. He was definitely excited. So anyway, we do have some things to talk about today. And before we get to the real exciting stuff, we have some games that we're gonna a game that we're gonna kind of go over. And we're gonna kind of meld together our two podcasts that we have. We have the Talking Tactics podcast, which we were going to do a separate podcast altogether today, but we're gonna bring them both together today. And Dan's going to jump in on the the exciting action that we had last weekend. So let's just get right into it. And I'm going to start with Tyson because I know Tyson was right there. Dan, did you go to that game?
Unfortunately, no. I
No.
was traveling. I had
You were traveling, right?
yeah, I had some stuff I had to take care of, but I was there in spirit.
Right.
I
I was in Maine.
holding my phone and watching the stream, no matter what was going on.
I was doing the same thing, like just
Yeah.
watching from a hotel on my little tiny phone with like 3 other people around me. So I'm going to start with Tyson. Tyson, what did you think of the lineups? The old lineups, and we'll get to Dan when we start talking about the formation and stuff. But straight off the bat, lineups. What did you think?
I mean, for the Western Mass game, it was the pretty straightforward lineup. Gabe Threadgold was moved a little bit further up the field. But other than that, it was kind of the pretty meat and potatoes setup. Obviously, Bazzini was over on the left wing with our other it's Labovitz. It completely
Jacob
ran out of my brain, but with Labo up there operating as the primary striker with Bazzini kind of crashing the box off the left. I thought that it looked really, really good. Labovitz had an amazing dummy that was laid off to Bazzini that Bazzini just missed with a wide open goal right in front of him. And Bazzini just couldn't get onto the end of that pass. It was, as usual in a match between Western Mass and the Green, it was a feisty one. It was a testy one. There were tackles going in hard and fast. First balls and second balls were really well contested. It was fiery. There were some yellow cards. It was a great time. The Green Mountain Boys had a tifo. It was
like an actual real tifo, not just a sign this time. Liv, were you at the match or?
I was only able to make the first half.
Yeah.
And then I had to leave the second half, unfortunately. But it was a good game. I mean, like, from what I saw, they were going at it the whole entire time. And I think they had Nick Lockerman as a new addition, right?
Yeah.
And he plays at UVM. He's a great player. They were missing Dan Pacella, right? And Rodri.
Right.
That
Rodri had the red card, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So I mean, so from what I saw, mostly like, and some of it was driving the car, some of it was at the hotel, but from what I saw, like Tyson said, the game was hotly contested. It seemed in from listening to Brian McLaughlin and his takes, I felt like, and I always do this. I complain about the referees, right? It seemed like the referee let this game, get out of his hands early in the match, and that leads to a lot of late yellow cards, some very early yellow cards, a lot of open play, and then a lot of late yellow cards. And it seemed to me also that Western Mass, for most of the game, seemed completely content with going in with a draw, knowing that they weren't going to have to play Seacoast again. Minus 1 point for myself.
Right, Mike.
God damn it. That said, Dan, did you see anything that was like that you thought was out of the ordinary for this Western Mass team, or did you see like any changes from their tactical setup in previous seasons?
So let me touch on the refs point first, because it's actually a funny anecdote. We complain about the refs, and as soccer players and fans, that's sort of something that we do, right? It comes with the territory, right? And I think it's always a bit strange for me watching these games with the referees, because I play in beer league. I play men's league, and the same guys that are reffing my beer league matches are reffing these matches. So I sort of get to know these guys. And again, I was in and out for the whole game, so I don't want to make any, broad statements about refereeing, but the one challenge you have as a referee, and Liv, I'm sure you've seen this time and time again, that it's you want to ride that line of letting play flow while allowing or while stopping it when things go over the line or get a bit too far. And it's hard when two teams like Vermont Green and Western Mass who don't have a sordid history, but every game we've played against them has been sort of a beat up, sort of an ugly game. Come out of the gate with the precedent that was set last year in their last game, right? So trying to quiet that early is really tricky for a referee, and the fact that it didn't really explode or get out of hand is, I think, some pats on the back to the referee in that regard. What I'll say about sort of tactically from Western Mass, I mean, we've watched them the past 2 years, and their style really has sort of stayed the same. And I think it's really interesting because in the USL2 and in our division, I don't want to say it's a division of the haves and have-nots, but it really is sort of a 3-horse race for first place at this point, right? You have us, you have Western Mass, and you have Seagoats. So it's really hard to figure out style of play for the top 3 teams when they're playing teams like Boston City or Bolts, where it's more of a, they impose their will, they do what they want to do, and they're able to score for fun. So when we look back at Western Mass's game against Seagoats, that was like 3 weeks ago. I'm not sure. They lost, I think 3-1 or 3-2.
It was just previous to our game against them. Yeah.
Right. It was last week, I think.
They played an incredibly low block with an incredible focus on the counterattack. I think Seagoats had possession for maybe 70% of that game, and they would sit back, they'd soak up the pressure, and they'd go on the break. And I think that that's sort of the style that Vermont Green have been sort of forced into playing against some of these better teams as well. So when those two styles come together, it's sort of a battering of heads, if you will. And with the way that we lined up, missing those 2 key guys, I think it sort of threw a wrench in our plans. We weren't able to execute on how we wanted to execute. But with that being said, I mean, a tie against the first or second place team in a league that's been our sort of boogeyman for the past 3 years is a result that I'm not over the moon about, but I'm happy about. And if we look back at Vermont Green's first season, when we had the playoff clinching game against them at home, without Deba's miraculous goal from the sideline, that game ends 0-0 too. Right. So this is something that this is a team that we're going to have to play our best game against to get a result out of. And I think that the boys played hard, and a 0-0 draw, it's not the best thing in the world, but a clean sheet's a clean sheet. So, we can pride ourselves on that.
Yeah. No, Liv, when you're watching, and I'm sure that there's like either huge or subtle differences between the men's game and the women's game. When you're watching, when you're watching a match, are you trying to watch the entire match? You trying to watch your position, or are you actually like trying to take in, what the other team is trying to do defensively? I mean, whether it's a USL2 match, whether it's a women's match, whether it's a Premier League match, something like that. Are you watching your position and how the other players are playing that, or are you watching, say, how the defense is setting up?
Right. So I'm a right back. And I'm like a newly converted right back. I've been playing right back for 2 years, coming off of playing holding mid my whole life. So now when I watch soccer, I watch the right backs. I watch the right backs, and then I watch how the forwards take on the right backs, and watching players like who's the Portuguese player on
Benny Prego.
Watching him play is the perfect role model to watch as a defender. Right. And so when I watch these games, it's just almost like a learning event. Like I'm taking in notes, I'm taking in how they play, I'm taking in when they're going on to pressure the ball. And especially now, I believe like I played a 4-back at Fusion, I play a 3-back at UVM. So it's hard having to go from a 4-back to a 3-back or a 3-back into a 4-back. So watching how we play in a 4-back and then the next game we go into a 3-back, I'm taking notes the whole time, seeing how the boys adjust and learning from that.
So with that being said, then, do you think like what you saw out of the first half of that game? Do you think that our right backs or I think Benny did start that game, didn't he?
Yeah.
So I mean, do you think that the tactical advantages that he can bring to the team, you think that kind of could have forced the issue or didn't force the issue enough through that Western Mass game? Because I did see that there were a lot of scoring opportunities, and Benny's the type of a guy who is comfortable carrying the ball. He's kind of more of almost like a wing back type of a player. He's comfortable carrying the ball. He's comfortable putting a good cross in. He's gonna be decent on a nice long diagonal. I mean, do you feel that like he employed those kind of skills throughout that first half?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always impressed with how he plays, and I think that he really stood out to me that game. And I'm not being biased because he's my position, but he stood out to me. My parents watched the game. He really stood out to my parents. I mean, the times that the Pioneers had breakaways, I mean, he was right there. His style of play is the type of player that you want in every game, and being able to move up the field and be an offensive player as a defensive player is an extreme advantage. So I think that he did what he could. He did what he could.
Yeah, I think that Benny's like fast. I mean, starting more
so fast.
He is really becoming like, his recovery pace is insane.
Insane.
And he's quickly becoming like a fan favorite here. He's going to end up being a legend at this club, I think.
Yeah.
And for me, he's become probably one of my favorite players this year to watch. Mostly because, for at least half of the game, he's in front of us and we're seeing it,
right.
being right on the rail there. But Tyson, so tell us about the atmosphere at the game. Like, were the boys going crazy the entire time? Was there some down times where people just weren't sure? What was the crowd like in the pregame situation?
I mean, basically any Vermont Green home game, the boys are always in full throat. The entire crowd was very much into it. I will say that both you and Liv definitely had a good eye about Benny Prego and what he was doing in this match. He did win man of the match. So he chugged his maple syrup in front of us at the end of the game. Benny was snapping up, long balls that the Pioneers were trying to get out to wingers to release them on the counterattack. He was snapping at defenders' heels basically the entire game. And the Green Mountain boys were very in full throat and supportive of all of that was going on.
Of course.
From the south part of the stands. I mean, it was another beautiful packed house. Everyone was singing. Again, we had our tifo that people seemed to like. We threw that up on social media thanks to the great photography of Spencer.
Spencer's the man.
He's the man. I mean, it's anytime the Green and the Pioneers play, that is appointment viewing. It is one of that's one of the kind of marquee matches in USL 2, honestly. And of course, the New Hampshire team is also appointment viewing, but again, we hate them. But Western Mass is a much more likable team.
Yeah.
again, being a West Ham fan, I hate every other London club. I hate them.
That's too bad.
But,
That's too bad.
but you know what? You know who's really fun to play and who I really appreciate? Newcastle. Even though they're owned by oil money now. But you know what? They're a really good team. I really like watching them play. I like it when West Ham play them. Like I get similar kind of vibes when, Western Mass come and play us or we go play them.
Well, that's fair.
Great? You know what's really great? We had I was downtown Burlington on Friday. I was doing some grocery shopping, and I had the Vermont Green kit on, and having coached as many kids as I coach, it's not uncommon for me to just run into random people that know me. And at City Market downtown, a couple of parents of a kid that I had coached a couple of years ago bumped into them, were saying hi. They're like, "Hey, we're playing Western Mass this weekend. That's a big game, right? I'm excited for that." I think that's super cool, right? They're not season ticket holders. They're not in the stands every game screaming and hollering, but just like if the Red Sox are playing the Yankees one weekend, it's got recognition outside of that sort of insular sphere of people who make soccer their life. And I think that's just incredibly cool. And it's a testament to how well run and how great the mission is that Vermont Green and the guys up top there are doing.
You're 100% correct. 100%. So before we get into our next segment here, we do have to, again, talk a little bit about a non-existent stream that happened. I'm gonna get off. I'm gonna let the referees get off the hook on this one.
We couldn't tell.
Yeah, no. I mean on the Western Mass front,
okay,
because there was some shithousery at the end of the match with a free kick that ended up with a yellow, and their really crappy center forward, who was just being a prick the entire game, kept on picking up the ball. And the referees did nothing about it. The sideline ref did nothing about it. The on-field ref did nothing about it. But so then I'm just going to let it go from there. That said, we can get into and Tyson. I'm just going to let you know, Eddie Howe is going to fast become the coach of England, because Southgate is on his way out.
After the Denmark game, there's no way he keeps his job.
Yeah, no way he keeps his job. And Eddie Howe would take this team to heights that I don't think England has seen in years and years. So that said, we can talk about Connecticut a little bit here for a second. There was no stream, so we don't actually know what happened outside of the 3 or 4 clips we got from the club. So Tyson, you got anything to say?
Yeah.
Christmas tree, maybe?
Yes, it's the Christmas tree formation. I love the Christmas tree, the old 3-4-2-1. And I actually reached out to one of the founders of the Green, because obviously there wasn't a stream, but they were there, and asked for their kind of impression of what happened. And they told me that it was very nice. The Green just have so much talent between Musa, Fisher, Drexler, Leighton, and Winshower. Those are all, like we talk about how many like great strikers and wingers and attacking players we have. This team is stacked at the center back position as well.
Yeah.
And, kind of this formation, and with them being able to again play Labovitz and Bazzini on the field at the same time. He said that the boys look good, controlled everything. They were able to bring some subs in a big group. He said it was a little bit nervy at times, but big picture dominated again. Need to finish a few more to put games to bed. But all in all, it's a big 3 points.
Right. I mean, Dan, what do you make of so we have a lot of players who, and obviously with the recognition that the Green have now, what do you think of guys like obviously we're going to be missing some guys periodically throughout the season. Guys like Chavi O'Neal and Reed Fisher, taking off for periods of time. I don't think we didn't get to see Zach in that game, right? So they're all gone away to ID camps and all this stuff and MLS tryouts and that kind of stuff. I mean, so what do you make of some of these substitutes that we bring in to kind of fill these spots? I mean, I think that like we talked about it in the beginning of the season, like with all of these new players we're bringing in, our squad is huge.
Yeah,
we're able to do that because of the past couple of years of recruiting and the success that the club has had. But what do you make of like having to bring these guys in or having to play somebody like Bazzini out on the wing?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not ideal. In an ideal world, we have a set 11 that we bring out every week that we're comfortable. Maybe there's one or two changes based on our opponents or based on the lineup or based off of any data they may have. But something that is so unique about the USL2 and what makes it such an amazing spectator sport is that you never, regardless of how much data you have or how much film you have, every game could be something different. And I think that because the league is an amateur league, because we have guys, because Vermont Green is so privileged to have guys that are about to be drafted, or in Zach Zenge's situation, have already been drafted by MLS teams or are going to go out and play abroad. We just have to roll with the punches and deal with that. It's kind of it's a pain of having the privilege of having those type of guys on your roster. Would I love to see Zenge starting in that cam position every week? Yes, of course I would. But if he gets a call from the Columbus Crew and they say, "Hey, we need you up here," who am I to say no, right?
Yeah, right.
So, as Tyson said, we are stacked in the back. We got a lot of great strikers, and I think we could be in a lot worse of position. If having to play Bazzini out wide is the biggest of our problems, I think we're going to be okay. And just one more small gripe I have is and again, I don't know what's going on in Pfeiffer's brain. I don't know what the coaches are thinking. Obviously, they are getting paid to do this. I am here of my own volition on a Thursday night, just talking about it. But I think we need to utilize Musa a bit more in build up play. I feel like so far this year, he's either been at that ball winning DM position, right, where he's there to win the balls out of the air and make that first pass, and then we're good. Or he's been at that center back position, right, that 3 or that 4, and he's again been just being the big guy in the box, and he's not really able to use his technical ability as much. I think that in past seasons we were able to go through Musa to start attacks, as opposed to just starting it or winning the ball there. I think that will, and maybe that's a personnel thing. Maybe we have guys that coaches see that are better in that spot than Musa, and I'm just not seeing it. But in my eyes, I think that's something that could really, if we're able to turn that key essentially and allow Musa to be a bit more free with what he's doing, I think we're off to the races.
Yeah, Liv, I mean, do you feel the same way? That type of like Musa is, and I like to say it about a lot of players, but like Musa is one of those players that's kind of like a Swiss Army knife. He can play kind of anywhere. As far as like defensive mid, he can play either center back side. He seems to, like last year, he had with Nate Jones a great center back pairing, and I think that like so far this year, Vermont Green's defense has been at their best when they've had Reed alongside Musa.
Yeah.
So like, how do you feel that like is Musa's position better utilized, or are his skills better utilized in the midfield, or do you think that like maybe in the center back position?
I think center back position. Personally, I think that teams have the most success with playing out of the back. And he's technical, and he's also physical. He's big, he's strong. And that's That's kind of the best qualities you can have as a center back. So I agree, letting him play more freely. He doesn't lose the ball. He's extremely technical. I think, him paired with Reed is definitely the best. And they didn't have that against the Pioneers, right?
Nope.
Right. Yeah,
No,
exactly.
right. And it showed, but more freedom playing the ball. He could even dribble up if it's a 4-back. I mean, you can have the freedom to dribble up. Left back comes in for him. And the best quality that a soccer player can have is adaptability and being versatile. And that's him.
Right.
That's him.
Yeah.
And it showed last year and this year. So.
Yeah, and he has played both of those positions. I think that.
Right.
I think that, had we had Reed Fisher, had we had Danny Pacella, had we had, our full host of players there, Rodri, especially having gotten the red card, I was hoping that we would see Reed back for Western Mass and be able to maybe use Reed and Drexler in the back and shuffle Musa up into Rodri's position, because we knew Pacella wouldn't be back with us for that game. But, I think that I think that we have kind of an embarrassment of riches on both ends of the field, in the attacking third and in the defensive third. Looking at the midfield, I think that we're a little bit unsettled there. We don't know whether Sam Layton's a guy. We saw Sam Layton as part of a back three. In the Connecticut game, obviously, we didn't see it, but I'm going to keep complaining about that shit too, because with the non-existent streams, there's no reason for a non-existent stream.
If with those facilities, there's no way they don't have a GoPro somewhere in that campus.
There was some word that they wouldn't give them access to the Wi-Fi there, so that's some that may or may not be a hot take, but I don't know. Let's get off of this and let's get on to our segment that we're all here to talk about, which is the women's match that's coming up. Now, we have Liv. Liv was one of the first 3 announcements on the roster, and we did not get the roster. And as much as I begged of Patrick to give me the roster, he would not give me the roster. So more power to him for holding out on me.
It's out now.
It is out now.
It's out now.
So I just want to first of all congratulate you, Liv. You're one of 3 Vermonters, right? On the team, and very near and dear to my heart, because you're from my hometown. I was born in Rutland, moved to Pittsford when I was 11 years old. But Liv, tell me a little bit about your experience growing up in soccer, and then we'll get into the women's match.
Yeah. So we all know Pittsford, Vermont. We all know Vermont in general. There weren't a lot of, at the time, there wasn't much for competitive or quality soccer for me. So I was commuting to Synergy, playing with all boys for years. I was one of 2 girls. It was me and Aki Uwasa, and I played with them until about 7th grade. And then I was like, all right, this is too much. I want to play for a girls' club. That's how I'm going to get recruited. So I would travel 3 hours down and back every single day to play for FC Stars in Massachusetts. And I did that for about 4 years. So 3 times a week, I'd go down for practice and then have games on the weekend, get home at 1:00 in the morning, do my homework in the car, get up at 6:00 in the morning for school. And did that till sophomore, junior year, until I got recruited to UVM my sophomore year. And then I played for Mutiny, which is the women's team for the Pioneers. And I was the youngest on the team there. I was playing with college girls that were playing at Penn State and South Carolina. I had women who played for UNC or like were ex-pros, and it was a really, really competitive team, and I was just thrown in there, and it was one of the best experiences as a little 16-year-old 105-pound girl at the time playing against grown women. And I did that for 2 years, and then I got to UVM, played for Vermont Fusion for 2 years. That's when I started playing right back. And then I'm a right back and a 3-back at UVM now. And then here we are. I'm very happy to be here. And I coach at Far Post too. Never played for Far Post, Nordic, or any of those clubs, but I now coach for Far Post.
So Dan has been shaking his head. Dan is a BFC coach.
Wait, do you know Laney?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's my best friend.
So I have heard. My son plays for Far Post. He's a U12, and I have been hearing. I've been telling people that we're going to have you on the podcast, and I've been hearing from folks who have whose children have been coached by you, and they said the kids love her. She is a hard ass, though.
I mean, like I have to be.
You gotta be.
Like
you gotta be.
You have to be, and it's like I coach with Joey. I love him, but it's like a lot of the male coaches who are coaching little girls aren't going to be stern with them. So I got to be the reinforcer there. But sometimes I'll crack a smile, I'll joke around with them, but I got to give it to them like how it was given to me in order to raise some D1 soccer players here.
Yeah. Rory is my son's coach. So
yeah.
Rory has a different coaching style.
Yeah.
But anyway, so getting in, like, how did you become one of the first, were you one of the first roster invitees, or were you just like kind of the face of it because you're a native Vermonter? Like, how did you hear about this happening, and how did you get involved?
So it's actually a crazy story. So I was working on a project, school project, to figure out like marketing ways to increase fans and raise money and sponsors and everything for women's soccer in Vermont, specifically Vermont Fusion, because I was playing for them at the time, and I was like, we need to get this team more money. I mean, we're playing at a beautiful stadium. The team is really good for 3 consecutive years. I mean, we made it really far, and it's in a cute town. So I'm like, how can we get more money for this team? So I'm working on a project, and I used Vermont Green as a model because Vermont Green, I mean, has showed nothing but success. Their marketing, their media, their promotion, everything. So I reached out to Patrick, and I was like, hey, like, can you give me some advice? I have some questions about the soccer audience in Vermont, and I want your input. And so we had a meeting. We sat down for like 2 hours, and we were just talking about women's soccer and everything. And I was like, what are your guys' intentions with possibly starting a women's team in the future? Because I mean, like, we all want a women's team, like, especially in Burlington. I was like, in order for a women's team or a soccer club like Vermont Green to thrive in Vermont, it has to be in Burlington. And so he's like, yeah, I don't know, like maybe like Fusion can move up to Burlington, but we don't want to compete, whatever. And then months go by, and I get a text, and it was from Fusion. They're like, unfortunately, we're not able to have a season. And it was really sad. We all love Fusion, whatever. So then the Fusion owners, Patrick and I, we were all getting to talk, and we were like, is a season like feasible for this summer with Fusion? They're like, no, absolutely not. So Patrick and I and the other owners were like, all right, maybe we can like do something. I don't know. And so then Patrick's like plotting. And I think that the Vermont Green like owners, they really just sit around and plot, and something happens, and they make things happen. I don't know how. They're like magicians. And so he's texting me in like February, and he was like, yeah, I think that like we're gonna really make this happen. And I'm like, all right, I don't think this is gonna happen. There's no way, with 3 months in advance. he's like, no, we're going to make it happen. And then he texts me like a week later. He's like, all right, we're making it happen. Like, we're pretty certain. And he's like, all right, like, I'm going to get you and then 4 other UVM girls. And then we are going to figure out the roster from there. And it's been a process, and the founders have been nothing but like so helpful and so inclusive to all of the girls. And I think another key piece of being able to have a successful women's team alongside a men's team is acknowledging and like addressing like the inequities that women soccer players and women athletes face. And one thing that the owners have gone above and beyond with is whatever the male players get, we get to. And whatever events that they have, we're invited to. All of the perks that they have, we have too. And it's very appreciated. And all of their work, it does not go unnoticed. And I'm happy that they were able to pull this through. And then 2 weeks ago or whenever he texts me, he's like, yeah, so we have a coach. Like, just guess who it is. And I'm like, it's not Sam Mewis. Like, don't do that. And he's like, I can't tell you. And I'm like, Patrick, tell me right now. And he's like, I can't. And I'm like, just tell me. I'm like, it's Sam Mewis, isn't it? And he's like, I'm like, this is unreal. I don't know how you guys make this work, but you make things work. And they did it. And here we are.
It's really weird.
Sold out. Yeah.
The Sam Mewis thing is like, it was almost like a WWE thing, you know, like back in the day when they had the WCW rivalry, and like you'd see like a WCW wrestler show up at a WWE arena. You know, Sam Mewis shows up at an Open Cup game, and it's like, oh, something's happening around here.
Yeah,
and then she shows up, and it's like, it's pretty amazing that like you said, like we have these founders, these owners, however they like to frame themselves. They're just good people with great intentions and amazing ideas to build a community of soccer, and around soccer, really, and it's an amazing opportunity. And we've as a supporters group have been asking about, you know, a women's team, a youth setup, like all of this stuff. Like, what are their future aspirations? And I think that, like you said, they are magicians and they just dream it and it happens. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, they're incredible, and they're genuine, down to earth people, and they're passionate about soccer. They're passionate about women's soccer, and no one else could run a club like those three.
Absolutely.
Now, I mean, what was, you know, your first kind of training session with Coach Sam Mewis like? I mean, did she just go, you know, let's go and introduce ourselves, let's kind of, you know, into a flow?
Was it like a kindergarten, like
or was it we are going hell for leather, let's fucking do this thing?
So going into it, I was like, she's gonna be like a hard ass on us. I feel like a national team player, like she's gonna be intense. We're sitting in the media room, and she's like, all right, everybody, we're going to go around, we're going to introduce each other, and then we're going to remember each other's names. I'm like, all right, okay, whatever. And then again today, she's like, all right, we're going to go through everyone's names again. And I know I got it this time. Like, I can remember the names. And she this is her first time coaching. I mean, like, she's just been a player her whole life. So it's new to her. But it literally like just started off with introductions. Like, she didn't just throw us. Brad threw us in the mix, though. He was like, all right, let's get right down to it. Our warm up with Lee was like just straight sprints.
I thought Lee was going to be the guy. Yeah,
Lee's the guy. I've known Lee since for forever, and he's always been that guy.
My son hates his training sessions.
Yeah, they're intense. I mean, when I was with Synergy, I think I used to go home crying every day. Seriously. So, yep.
That's fantastic. I mean, growing up, you know, as in the you know, mid 90s, being a soccer fanatic, you know, I didn't have a ton of, you know, successful male soccer players to look up to in the US. So my big, you know, cornerstone was Mia Hamm. And I feel like Sammy Mewis is sort of filling that modern day, not to reduce what Mia Hamm did or reduce what Sammy's doing, but, fill that modern role. And I think that, the fact that name recognition now is coming to the women's game in the US is so great. It's so huge. And, to be perfectly honest, I couldn't believe that this little rinky dink club in Vermont got Sammy Mewis up here.
How?
Yeah.
I don't know how. But yeah, like you said, women's soccer, especially here, is really taking off, and it's the future of women's sports. And really, really happy and excited that Sam Mewis is here, and not just coaching, but in Vermont. I mean, Vermont, we don't have a lot of figures like that. So it's amazing that someone of her caliber is here and living here and having an impact on our community, and was kind enough to come coach us. I mean, like, a national team player doesn't owe us to come coach us, but she did, and it's not an obligation to her. She's genuinely excited to coach this game, which is really nice.
Speaking of excitement, you were kind of mentioning earlier when we all first were starting to talk about the fact that your game, it is sold out, and it has been sold out for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
Is this going to be a kind of different experience than playing down in my neck of the woods, where I grew up, down in Manchester, at beautiful Applejack Stadium?
The Applejack.
You're going to get to go and play in front of a jacked up and excited crowd.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I mean, I've never played in front of a crowd this big. I think that the biggest crowd that I played in was probably 2,500, and that was at my UVM game against South Carolina, and was nearly sold out. But this might be like the biggest crowd that I'll ever play in. So I'm beyond excited. The girls are all beyond excited. And yeah, comparing it to Applejack, I mean, Applejack Stadium is so nice. I would play on that grass field any day. But the environment that the Vermont Green fans bring is like a professional match in Europe. Like, when I played for the Bayern Munich Academy team in Germany, like, that's what the fans were like. And that's what I'm probably most excited about, is being in front of and playing in front of an electric fan environment. Cannot wait.
Yeah, and you're not just going to get to experience a game that we fill the stands. We're right now trying to fill the hill as well.
Yeah.
Which will happen. It's gonna be a big deal. I know that people are like, especially in our Slack conversation that we have in our supporters group, we have a lot of people looking for extra tickets, looking for anybody who's not going to be around this weekend to give up their season tickets. I know I had to procure one for my wife.
Well,
my daughter will be right up front, cheering her heart out, as she always is. She's not a soccer player. She's a volleyball player, but she is the champion of her brother's supporters group, your team supporters group. So she is always right there in front, and this is a big deal for her, and she just wanted to make sure that I mentioned that too. This all said, I know that we're kind of coming up on time here, and I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but we do have another team to talk about, because there is going to be another team in purple and white on the other side that isn't going to want to give you guys any joy out there. How are you preparing for this with such little time? Because Laval is no joke. They're the women's Quebec champion, and I don't think they're going to come here and allow you guys to just walk all over them. How are you guys preparing for this team? And are you watching any tape? Are you just trying to like figure out? It's what I'm picturing in my head is something similar to what what the men went through going into the U.S. Open Cup games is like, we don't have a lot of time. We're going to get our formations down. We're going to get, maybe a little bit of cohesion and see what we can do.
Yeah. So it's really weird because the coaches have tried to find stuff on this team. I've tried to find stuff on this team. My team has tried to find stuff on this team, and we just cannot find anything. We can find stats. We can't find videos. We can't stream anything. So that's a mystery. That is a mystery. So considering we have 3 practices to prep, I think that it's more about we need to focus on playing together and fusing and focusing on adapting to each other and learning how each other play before we can even focus on the other team. I mean, like, we're going through pressing and we're going through passing patterns and just playing as much as we can just to get the ball under our feet and play with players that we've never played with and will never probably play with again within 3 days. So it's going to be a challenge because FC Laval, these players have been playing with each other for probably over a month, and they've probably played with each other in past seasons. So we're all new to each other, most of us. So we're just figuring out how each other work. I mean, we barely even have the time to like form relationships. We're just solely like, how does this player work on the field? What can I do best to support this player and adapt to the rest of the team, how they play.
Excellent. I'm gonna give the boys one more chance to ask each one question before we close out here, and I'll start with Tyson.
What is your favorite takeaway item from Kamuta's? Mike has mentioned the angel hair pasta. He said that is his favorite.
The angel hair pasta, man.
The angel hair pasta is great. I will admit that driving down south to visit my family down Route 7, I don't often stop at Kamuta's. Look, I hate Rutland. Rutland is a hellhole. You know what?
Come on.
Are the best.
Oh, Gills.
I love Gills. I love
yeah.
a good belly sandwich. But Kamuta's.
That's high school road trip sandwich right there.
That's so true. Yep.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Kamuta's is honestly so iconic. Their sandwiches, they have like a cranberry turkey sandwich, which is every time I'm home, I'll get that. Or now they have like these new blueberry or mixed berry waters that are local, and they're so good. So I get those. But every Sunday and Saturday morning they get the Jones Donuts. So we're there. I don't think my family has missed a single weekend with those donuts there. But fun fact, I actually used to work at the Maple Museum. So I know how to tap a maple tree. I can tell the difference between all the different types of maple syrup. So if you're ever in Pittsburgh again, make sure you go to
that's
Maple
what we
Museum.
call multidisciplinary talent. We need that on
Right?
Vermont Green FC. We need well-rounded people.
Exactly. I think that for this game they need to get all the different maple syrup grades, and I'll for sure be able to tell the difference.
They changed the grading system. Don't you remember?
It's ridiculous. Don't get me started on that, Tyson.
We don't have grade 8 fancy. We don't have our ambers. It's now it's light, it's medium, it's dark.
I don't like that.
Guess what? We're gonna blame the Canadians.
I agree, and the out-of-staters, because they don't like the dark maple syrup. I love the dark maple syrup.
Dark is
the best one.
Oh.
And I remember working there.
We got grade C when I was a kid.
Yeah, and everyone likes the light ones when I was working there. That I don't get it.
They just don't have developed palates. They don't know what they're.
They don't get it. They weren't raised on it. I mean, that was my water, so they don't get it.
Dan's from Massachusetts. Dan's part of the problem.
Hey, I'm not part of the problem. Come on.
Dan's a transplant. He's okay. He's growing roots here.
gets a degree and then leaves. I came to Vermont, got a degree, and I stayed. All right,
stayed.
God damn it. But I guess my question for you, Liv, it's not as silly as Tyson, so I apologize. But I am the 2004
Tyson's a silly heart,
2004 U11's national champion, so I have to talk about soccer. So I mentioned, I looked up a lot to Mia Hamm and the members of that World Cup winning group that we had over the number of years in the late 90s, early 2000s. I was wondering who was your role model at that age?
I actually had my first jersey was a Mia Hamm jersey, and
yes.
I didn't get to really watch Mia Hamm play, but she left a statement where I didn't even watch her play. She was the women's soccer player.
Yeah.
But growing up, had to have been Alex Morgan. I absolutely idolized Alex Morgan, Abby Wambach, Marta, and Tobin Heath. Tobin Heath, I still to this day is the most technical women's soccer player that has come through the USA. And then Marta is gonna be hard to beat for the best women's soccer player in the world.
I mean, she's also been playing for forever. I mean,
forever,
and she was always at the peak too.
Yeah, like she's an all-around player, and she really plays that Brazilian style of play, which is kind of how I was raised to play soccer. So she's definitely like the cheeky, ticky-tacky player that I looked up to most of my life. And of course, awesome. Sam Ewis.
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, you got to say that.
Of course,
contractually obligated to say that. Yeah.
Signed a contract.
You want some minutes on Saturday. You better say
exactly. I got to say that.
Not that she's listening to this podcast, but like hopefully.
But yeah, a bunch
awesome.
of them. And now it's like I am watching players my age who I played with at like FC Stars, now playing for like the NWSL. So it's like unfolding. So I'm like looking up to girls who are my age now too, and it's just like such an accomplishment. Peyton Linehan, who played at Penn State, now she's marking her territory in the NWSL, doing really well. So yeah,
excellent. So we're gonna end it here. I'm gonna give everybody one shot to have a final comment, and I will go first. I really can't stress enough how exciting this was to have you on tonight and to talk to you. I'm very excited about the match coming up on Saturday. I myself will be late, but it's going to be because my son has a late game. But I can tell you that I'm going to come in hot, and I'm going to come in with the flag and my megaphone blaring. It's as an old man and a father of a teenager and a preteen, it's all I have left. So I'm going to be coming in hot, and I'm going to be running across those stands to get to my spot on the rail. And hopefully Tyson will elbow out anybody so I can stand next to him. I'll have Danny behind us in the drum. But I'm very excited about this. I'm very excited for you, Liv, and the other women on the team who are getting this opportunity, and I'm very excited about the future, and hopefully that we can find a league where we can play in, and that's not a million miles to travel. Right. Because growing the sport in this state doesn't just end with the men's team, and it doesn't just end with the youth clubs. It has to, the women's game has to be part of it. So I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate you being a trailblazer for this club, and look forward to seeing you on Saturday. And we're going to have you sign the flag, which is also hashtag the legends flag. So only the legends get to sign it. So
wait, that's an honor.
Yeah. You're going to get to sign it.
That's a real big honor.
Yeah. So
Sam McCann's
signature and Reed Fisher and Musa. Yep. And we'll be bringing it to some of the MLS 2 games too. I'm going to get Gavork's signature too. So.
He only played for us for a couple of games. Come on, Mike.
That's okay. He was so good. Dude. He was so good. We knew after that first game, we were like, "This guy's too good
He
for
won't
us."
be here long.
I'm gonna go to Tyson next.
I am just super excited for Saturday. I know that everyone else is. I am bummed that UVM is still keeping us on double secret probation, and there shall be no smoke at this game. UVM is a bummer, but again, I blame the Quebecois for bringing down their road flare, burning the turf at the U.S. Open match. They are our great friends and allies, but come on, guys, you bummed us out on that one.
So Tyson, I want to interrupt you, but really quickly, do you think that the road flare incident combined with the burning of the bench, not but 2 weeks later, was tied together in UVM's mind? No, tied together in their mind.
Oh, in their mind? No.
No? Okay.
No, I don't. But
we could have time for Dan's conspiracy corner another time.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, conspiracy corner. I love it.
But no, I mean, I will be right there on the rail, right next to Mike, right in front of Dan, cheering you on, Liv. It is just so great that we are going to have some Vermonters who are part of this team, and it is great that you're going to be a part of it, and I am super excited.
And you'll be playing right in front of our
That's the best part.
our group.
Yeah.
So
true. I can't wait. That's what I think I'm most excited for.
excellent.
Is to play on that side, on the right side.
All right, Danny.
Yeah, I get the final word, I guess.
The final word, man.
Yeah. Again, I mirror Tyson and Mike's excitement. Before we started the podcast, we were chatting about sort of what our plans were, and how Mike was going to be late. And I've had just the craziest early summer. This is only I think it's the third game I'm going to get to see in person. So I'm going to be there 4 hours early. I'm going to be in the parking lot, and all of my repressed or my lost energy from not being able to go to all the home games is coming out in one night. So Liv, you're going to be playing on our side. You're going to hear my voice a lot. I hope I don't distract you. But if I do, I apologize. But yeah, I mean, growing the sport in the state is something that I've been working, my butt off on the youth side to do, and it's amazing to see it on the amateur and the pro-am side as well. So couldn't be more excited, and hopefully, fingers crossed, maybe not next year, but the year after. When the USL figures out how to just do a women's league, which is they do it for the men, so why not? That's beside the point. We can get you guys up here full time, have you guys up here. So selfishly, I get a whole nother season's worth of games to watch.
It's going to be a whole lot of tailgates.
Great.
For sure. All right. And actually, the last word is going to go to a very special guest, Liv White.
Yeah, this was
plug what you want to plug. Yeah.
This was very fun. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be able to sign the legendary flag. I'm very excited that this is all happening. And, for the past 3 years, I've been wanting nothing more than to be able to play in front of the Vermont Green fans and just be under the spotlight that the Vermont Green boys are under. So I'm really happy that this all unfolded, and it's a dream to be able to play in front of and be coached by Sam Ewis. So I'm really happy that we're finally here, and it's in 2 days. But yeah, thank you guys for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'll echo those sentiments. And before we sign off, as always, guys, we are supported by the Blazing Musket. The Blazing Musket is a great soccer website. They serve all of New England soccer, and namely in USL 2, they support our Vermont Green. Amongst those other two teams, they do Hartford Athletic. They cover our MLS team, the New England Revolution, and Rhode Island FC as well. So we're happy to be partnered with them. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook, which we never post on. If your dad or your crazy aunt wants to go onto Facebook to find us, we don't ever post there, but we're there. So you can find us on Instagram, and until Tyler the Creator gets us on X, you just find us there and all your favorite podcast platforms. So until next time, we are United in Green podcast, and I can't wait to see all you guys out there on Saturday. And if you don't lose your voices, then you're not doing it right. All right.
Agreed.
Good to see you guys, and until then, up the green.
Up the green.
Up the green.